Hello. Uh, so today I actually picked up, or rather chanced upon the blurb of Brian Masumi's Parables for the Virtual. And I remember I saw this text for the first time when uh, some of these issues came up regarding cultural theory in my master's. There was a batchmate of mine who might have been carrying it around. But in any case, let me get to the blurb. Uh, which states that in Parables for the Virtual, Brian Masumi views the body and media, such as television, film, and the internet, as processes that operate on multiple registers of sensation beyond the reach of the reading techniques founded on the standard rhetorical and semiotic models. Renewing and assessing William James's radical empiricism and Henri Bergson's philosophy of perception through the filter of the post-war French philosophy of Deleuze, Guattari, and Foucault, Masumi links a cultural logic of variation to questions of movement, affect, and sensation. If such concepts are as fundamental as signs and significations, he argues, then a new set of theoretical issues appears, and with them potential new paths for the wedding of scientific and cultural theory. Now, of course, it's never fair to judge a book by a blurb, but for whatever it's worth, it's a place where I have usually begun with. And I appreciate the fact that questions of affect and movement and the body are taken up by cultural theory. It's something that it has been accused of often. Whether it actually does practice that, I would leave it to you to judge, perhaps while encouraging a reading of some of the seminal texts, perhaps by even a really scholastic thinker like Frederick Jameson. I mean, at the from the top of my head, uh, just the fact that we occupy space means that we exist in a body, that it has a degree of corporeality, and the question of situatedness has been in many ways um, key for cultural theory in very many circumstances. All of that aside, the other point that is brought up in the blurb itself is the question of semiotic and rhetorical models. Now, I like the idea that these registers, if you want to call them that, are thought of as models, because sometimes we may not have the faculty available to engage with the immensity of content that may be represented in them. At which point it does help to have at your fingertips, I guess, something similar or analogous to fallacies, like questions of the straw man, questions of the scapegoat, which is like the same thing, uh, failures in deductive reasoning, uh, ploys which ignore the point, and arguments which basically beg a question without offering a point of view. These are in the era of post truth, whatever that is uh, coming to be, more common than you would expect. And it helps to be able to compartmentalize a lot of these into what they may actually be fishing for, which are, in fact, indeed, movements, affects, and sensations. And in that sense, Brian Masumi is very much on point. However, having said that, why would someone want to consider these were they in a place where they can actually um, use text itself and the practice of writing as a medium or a means to communicate what they may have to another? This is not to say that you would not be able to express yourself artistically affectively in a way that is completely unique to your circumstances via a practice such as dance. It's just that it may make the message itself harder to get across. So at some point, I think it is necessary to bring up the question of performance, because I think that lies at the heart of a lot of the investigations which someone like Brian Massumi may be trying to take up. And the moment we speak about performance, I think it helps to be able to think of it not merely in terms of its tradition, in terms of the history of performances in drama and in dance and in all kinds of theatrical pursuits, but also perhaps in terms of sport, which demands a degree of a kind of physicality in the engagement of a particular player in a field at any given point in time. And I guess once these kinds of uh, evaluations are made, then you may have a sense of what your own uh, orientation is in your approach to either a text or to a medium such as theater or whatever, or dance. As for its relation to French philosophy and the virtual, that is where I believe Masumi may be making a few novel points, but I say this without having read the book, which, if I do, I shall offer a review. However, I am at this point tempted to stop here and consider the possibility. I mean, seriously, if you were to be sitting behind a computer screen with such a possibility handed to you, why would you read Brian Masumi and not, I don't know, Derrida or whoever else you may want to? What would the appeal be? That is a question. If it is indeed to reorient or resituate questions of the body and affect and sensation, um, perhaps. Yet, I think that if you are in a place where these registers or these domains of feeling, or however it is you'd like to think of them, are prime, then perhaps trying to situate what these may be in terms of nameable emotions, whether it is, for example, hatred or envy or uh, pleasure or discomfort. Once you're able to identify a form of sensation, or what maybe a psychoanalyst may call a symptom, you are able to present it to another, and it in some way the coordinates of how we are doing, where we are coming from, are presented and formulated via such a practice as well. Now, that's just my snapshot of what such a direction for a theorist, a cultural theorist, looks like if they were to be considering reading Brian Masumi's Parables for the Virtual. If you think I actually should go ahead and read it, uh, and maybe write a review, maybe present a small uh, summary of how I think of their chief steps and things of that nature, let me know. However, if you believe that there are better options around, and there are, in my opinion, then by all means, I'd appreciate your opinion there as well. Either way, I hope you have learned a little about what the book may be about and who may and may not consider it useful. With that said and done, I wish you a good evening. Bye bye. Thank you.